I can't believe that it is almost October already. So we're going to be planting out our beds for October here in southeast Queensland, Australia. We are in a subtropical climate and we're getting to that time of the year where it's going to get really challenging to grow things. If you're new here, I'm Nikki and I'm on a mission to grow as much food as I can on our regular suburban block here in the subtropics. So each month I plant out a small bed just so I've got that continuous harvest and I'm not getting overwhelmed with the garden. So just to show you what I mean by planting one bed out a month, I'm just going to show you a little bit of rundown of what's growing over the last 3 months. The bed we planted in July is starting to finish up. We harvested heaps of snow peas in the last few weeks, but since the weather has heated up, it has definitely slowed down. The carrots and beets are getting close and the tatsoi is still producing well. We will turn this bed over soon for another go of planting. I'm thinking of putting in sweet potatoes in this bed. I've already started collecting any of the sprouts of sweet potatoes that have sprouted up in the garden, and I'm just taking cuttings to create slips to plant those out when they are ready. After a slow start with the bed that I planted out in August, it has finally started to grow. I initially thought it was a soil issue with some purchased mushroom compost, but it turns out it was just too wet. This veg pod is essentially a wicking bed which is sitting in a reservoir of water, and it just was getting too much water. So I haven't watered it in 3 weeks and finally it's starting to look good. I have harvested a lettuce already and I think we will start seeing some beans in the next few weeks. The bed we planted out in September, which was mostly direct sown, so things are just slowly poking out. We've got corn, cucumbers, cosmos and bean seedlings all popping up. I do still have issues with those greenhouse cockroaches as I lost all my pumpkins and a few lettuce, and I'm finding a lot of the cosmos seedlings getting snipped off overnight. Some extra things that I planted, I had some leftover lettuce, so I set up this Kratky system, which is a hydroponic passive system. Essentially you just fill up this plastic tub with hydroponic solution. You have these little bags that hold your plants and they just reach for the water, and the idea is that by the time the water is empty the plants should be all ready to harvest. So we've already harvested 3 lots of lettuce out of here. They are going a little, they're bolting a little bit, but that's because they are quite old. I think I planted the seeds for these back in June and they were just left sitting in my greenhouse needing a home. So they are doing pretty well, and I also didn't thin them. So there's like about 4 or 5 plants in each of those little cups, but they're doing really well. I find it difficult to do this when the wet season starts because my greenhouse does not have a roof, so I think I will just need to find a better location to do this because it's a really good way to have lettuce growing through those really hot months. The other hydro system we've got going is an auto pot, which is just essentially a wicking system. It's another passive system. It's just linked to a water reservoir that has a little, under here it has like a little, chickens have been kicking up dust, a little valve that fills up once it gets to a certain level, and they're just basically, the pots just sit in the water constantly, so it's essentially a wicking system. So I've got 2 little cucumbers in here and the idea is to get them to grow up these strings once they start going. So this month I'm going to be planting a tomato. I don't normally grow a lot of tomatoes over the warmer months because it does become quite challenging, but I do like to have tomatoes over summer, so I don't go too crazy. That's why I'm only going to be planting 1 tomato, and it's best to go with more resilient varieties over the warm months. This one here is Aroma. You could go with cherry tomatoes. Just stay away from a lot of the heirloom ones. Another good one is a tropic tomato, or also a pink Thai egg. It is quite challenging. There's a lot of pests, there's a lot of diseases. With the humidity, we definitely see things like bacterial wilts. We see things like fungal diseases and things like that. So it can be very off-putting for newbie gardeners especially. So choose some really resilient varieties like the Grosse Lisse, the Roma, the pink Thai egg, or ones that are designed for subtropical climates like the tomato tropic. So in this garden bed, we're also going to be direct sowing some Blue Lake climbing beans and also planting some loose leaf varieties of lettuce. This one here is called an all year round. It's just a really good sort of half butterhead, half oak leaf kind of style of lettuce, and it's really good. It doesn't bolt as fast as some varieties do when it does get hot. The combination as well also will include basil. I always plant basil with tomatoes, not because it does anything in terms of compatibility. It's just nice to be able to grab the basil and the tomatoes at the same time. I'm planting this month in a small bed, a 90 centimeter by 90 centimeters. I've already prepped this bed with a lot of homemade compost, but I am going to add in some extras because tomatoes are quite heavy feeders. I'm going in with some rock minerals, some blood and bone. I've got some dolomite lime, potash, and also some Epsom salts. Tomato I'll pop in the center. If you don't want to go with a tomato, you could also do an eggplant or an okra in this layout. If you're wanting to turn this bed over in 3 to 4 months, stick with your determinate varieties of tomatoes. If you want those ongoing harvests to last a little bit longer, the indeterminate tomatoes will keep producing, but you will need something to keep them a bit more contained. I'm just using a regular tomato cage for this Roma, which is perfect for determinate varieties, but I find that they just get a little bit too small for any of the indeterminate varieties. I do still have a dill plant going to seed, which I've kept to attract some ladybugs to the garden, but I will be planting 2 basils on the corners of the northern edges and then space filling the rest with my lettuce seedlings. You will need a trellis for your beans. Just make sure that you get one that is as tall as you can get. They will also grow really well over an arch. The bean trellis is going on my southern side, and I'm only going to put 4 bean plants in here because these ones do produce really well. We also plant a lot of beans every month, so I don't need to go too crazy. We've also planted out some of our capsicums, our eggplant. I also grabbed a tromboncino from the nursery. I've grown this a few times over the years and the seeds that I had saved were no longer any good. So when I saw it, I grabbed it. So hopefully I'll be able to save some more seeds from that. I purchased another cheap and nasty arch from Bunnings for the tromboncino to grow on. I don't do the full height of these. I leave one section out, and I will reinforce it later with some mesh for the plants to grow up. It might also need securing with a star picket, but we'll see how it goes. In this 1.3 meter by 0.9 meter bed, I've planted 4 capsicums 30 centimeters apart, and next to the tromboncino, I popped my eggplant. As I was planting the capsicums, I came across more of those dreaded greenhouse cockroaches, and sure enough, overnight I did lose one plant. For all the capsicums and the eggplant, I added some garden stakes that I will use for them for support as they grow. I did also dig out some marigolds from where they've self-seeded around the garden, and I popped some in this bed as well. I've also planted out half of the veg pod with some chili plants as well. I normally grow my chilies in pots, but I figure I have the space here, so I'm going to just put them in the veg pod. The veg pod is kind of challenging to grow in because it does have essentially in a 1 meter square 4 particular reservoirs. It makes trying to jam a lot of things in very difficult, so you do kind of need to space some things out a little bit more, otherwise they're just going to dry out too quickly. With the garlic now out, I do have a lot of free beds, so I'm going to do a few cover crops until I'm ready to plant out. This is just a mix of buckwheat, millet and mung beans. I'll let these grow for about a month and then I'll cover with some black plastic to kill them off, then compost when I'm ready to plant again. You can grab this combo of seeds from my website, and it does come with the inoculant to help with the nitrogen fixing. I do cover this up with shade cloth because the birds tend to come in and eat all of these seeds. I've also planted some Jap pumpkin seeds in one of my raised beds. I don't normally put them in raised beds as they kind of grow as volunteers from the compost bins. But I did want to give them more attention this year, and if they're in the raised beds, they're going to get water as that's where the irrigation lines are. So we're out in the greenhouse now, going to get some seeds in, ready for the coming months. I'm going to be doing some green oak leaf lettuce. It's a good loose leaf variety for summer. Perpetual gator, which is a type of Swiss chard, and it's really good over the hot months. It seems to survive a bit better than others. We're also going to go with a cherry tomato and a Welsh Nabuka spring onion. On top of that, we've also got flowers and herbs. Of course, every month I need to do that. So I'm doing some carpet of snow, sweet Alice, just because I love those just as space fillers. And also I'm going to do some lemon basil. And also some bonus seeds I'm doing this month are some ones that are going to survive over those really hot months. I'm going to do some okra and also some jicama, I don't know how you say it, but it's the Mexican potato. So I'm going to do some trials of those this year. So just a reminder to make sure that you are cleaning your pots, particularly when the weather warms up. I like to just stick them in my laundry tub with a solution of dishwashing liquid and bleach and just give them a bit of a scrub. This will just stop any disease buildup over time. So make sure you're doing that quite regularly if you're reusing pots. So these pots are called a wind strip. These are mini winnies, so they've made them for home gardeners, but they use them commercially, but essentially they're air pruning, and they have these little slits here that stops them, prevents them from becoming root bound. So they're really good to get. I got mine from a supplier called Active Vista down in Tasmania. They supply a lot of market gardeners, but they do have these for the regular home garden. So first up, we're going to go with Perpetual Gator. I'm not going to do a lot of these because 1 or 2 plants is plenty. They are from the beet family. They have the cluster seeds. It's clusters of seeds. So I'm just going to do 3 per hole. Lemon basil. This one's really nice basil to cook with chicken. Really nice, slightly different flavour. I'm just doing a bunch of seeds for these because one, they're small, and it's always good to have extra basil. Cherry aroma. I'll stick my cherry aroma in this lot as well. So these ones I'm planting now, but I probably won't get them out in the garden until late November, early December. And it just provides you with that succession from once you've planted the Roma tomato will probably be producing just as you plant this one. Okay. I have had terrible luck with the spring onions this year because of those greenhouse cockroaches. They seem to love the spring onions. So I just try to do about 10 per hole. There was a variety that I used to have that just it was like a French one, and it used to multiply, and I lost it from those black aphids, and I don't know what it was, what variety it was. It was some kind of French bulbing onion. Just the sweet Alice. These seeds are really, really tiny. Really tiny. Do a whole tray of the green oak leaf because you can always use lettuce. some okra. One plant is really enough with okra, but I am going to just do 2 cells of it because I need to test these seeds, see if they're good. This one is, normally I grow the Hill Country variety, which has a bit of a pink tinge. This one's just the standard spineless, I think it's Clemson spineless. And last year I grew them in amongst the sweet potatoes. They didn't do that well, so this year I want to give it a bit more of an opportunity. Now this jicama, or how you say it, these probably would be better direct sown, but again, these seeds, I'm not sure, they're just ones I saved from last year. But, oops, didn't mean to throw you over there. Because I pulled the vine down early, I'm not sure how they're going to go. Last year I had heaps, but where I put them, our gutters overflowed and it got flooded. So I had to bin the lot, but we got some more this year. Anyway, that's pretty much it. So I don't know if I've ever mentioned this or if you've watched me before, but I don't actually water from above, I water from below. I have just this tray of water which I got from a hydroponics shop, and I just pop it in there and I fill this up. And that way the water just sort of wicks up. And I usually just come out and alternate trays every morning, and it works really well. And my labels are just cut up ice cream container lids. Nothing fancy, just with a Sharpie. I'm always losing them, so there's no point buying them, and this is a really good, easy solution. If you want to plant along with me, I have put together a bundle of seeds for the next 3 months of what I'll be planting in my garden. You can head on over to my website to grab that. So that's it for our plantings for October. It is going to get challenging over the next few months as it gets hotter and then as the rains start. But if we just keep it simple, 1 bed every month, it just keeps things going, and there's less loss if you're losing everything that you've planted out at the beginning of the season. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.